When I was 14, Mom screamed, "Get out of my car!" She threw $20 at a trucker. "Take this kid anywhere. Just make sure he never comes back." Her husband laughed, finally getting rid of the dead weight. Trash belongs with trash. They sped away. 11 years later, 2 a.m., 147 messages. Crying voice notes. "Please, son, we'll be on the streets by morning. You're our only hope." I replied, "Trash belongs with trash. Don't ever darken my doorstep again." You think we owe you something, Daniel? My mother's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. "After everything you've cost us." Her husband, Jim, leaned forward in his chair, his smirk dripping contempt. "You were a burden the day you were born." The kitchen clock ticked louder than it should have, each second weighing down the air. "You signed my name without asking," I said, my voice low but steady. "That's not a mistake. That's fraud." Mom's hand slammed the table. "We had no choice. The bank was going to take the house." "You had a choice," I cut in. "You just didn't care who paid for it." Who I am. My name's Daniel Price. I'm 25 now. I've spent most of my life keeping my head down, working double shifts, saving for a future no one in this house ever thought I'd have. I'm not angry in the way I used to be. It's quieter now, like a cold wind in my chest. But right then, sitting at my mother's kitchen table, looking at the same people who left me on the side of the road at 14. Yeah, the wind was starting to howl again. The cast. Linda Price, 62. My mother. Quick to cry, quicker to blame. Jim Carter, 64. Her second husband, retired, bitter, sees me as competition for his money. Emily Price, 28. My half-sister. Sweet voice, sharper claws than anyone else here. Each of them had taken something from me in their own way. None of them had ever given it back. "Daniel," Emily said, leaning forward, "we wouldn't have needed your name if you hadn't kept your savings to yourself." "My savings," I repeated. "Because I worked for it. Because no one else here ever lifted a damn finger for me." Jim barked a laugh. "Listen to him. Thinks he's some saint. You owe us for raising you." "You didn't raise me," I said, my hands gripping the table edge. "You dumped me like garbage and prayed I wouldn't crawl back." The air in the kitchen felt heavier now, like the oxygen itself had turned into something sharp. Mom's eyes were glassy, but it wasn't guilt shining there. It was the same look she used to give me when I was younger and caught her lying. Frustration, resentment, the belief that she was the victim. "You think life's been easy for me?" she said, her voice trembling in that performative way that always made strangers feel sorry for her. "I did what I had to do, and now the bank wants $38,000 in 30 days, or we lose the house." She emphasized "we" like it meant anything. I let the silence hang. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock, the scrape of Jim's fingernail against his coffee mug. They were waiting for me to speak, waiting for me to do what I had always done. Fix what they broke. Instead, I leaned forward just enough for my voice to cut through the stale air. "You already lost the house," I said quietly, her brow furrowed. "You just don't see it yet." The memory didn't knock. It kicked the door open. I was 14. Rain pelted the windshield in violent sheets, wipers thrashing back and forth like they were trying to fight the storm, and losing, the car smelled like wet carpet and cigarette smoke. Mom's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Jim sat beside her, jaw tight, eyes fixed on me in the rearview mirror. "You think you can talk to me like that?" Mom snapped, the pitch of her voice climbing. I didn't answer. I knew better. Jim leaned over, his voice low but venomous. "You're poison, kid. You've always been poison." The next sound was the blinker, A sharp click, 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 as Mom pulled onto the shoulder of the highway. The world outside was grey and endless. The wind rocked the car like it was trying to rip me out. Then her voice, sharp enough to cut skin. "Get out of my car!" I thought she was bluffing. I didn't move. Jim's hand shot across her, yanking the passenger door open so hard it nearly ripped off its hinges. Cold rain rushed in, soaking my jeans in seconds. And then, the crumpled bill, $20, thrown at a trucker who had slowed down to see what was happening. Her voice, flat and cruel. "Take this kid anywhere. Just make sure he never comes back." I climbed into that truck without a word. The cab smelled of diesel and wet wool. The driver didn't ask questions. Neither did I. I stared out at the endless road, the rain blurring the world until I couldn't tell where the sky ended and the ground began. That was the night I learned something important. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's just the knife that cuts the deepest. The kitchen came back into focus. I could still hear the rain from that night, even though outside the sky was clear. I leaned back in my chair, letting the moment breathe. Then I said, "Funny thing, Mom. The loan you forged my signature on? The bank already called me." Emily tilted her head, confused. "So, you're liable." I almost smiled. Almost. "No," I said, pulling a folded paper from my jacket pocket. It landed on the table with a soft thud that sounded louder than it should have. "I reported it last week. As fraud. They're investigating you." Mom's voice cracked open like thin glass. "We'll lose everything." Jim pushed himself to his feet so fast, his chair toppled over backward, hitting the tile with a loud clack. "You ungrateful little..." I didn't flinch. "Sit down, Jim." My voice was low, steady, the kind of tone that leaves no room for argument. "If you take one step toward me, I'll have the police here before you can blink, and I'll make sure they know everything." For a moment, I saw it, the flicker of hesitation in his eyes. He was calculating the odds and realizing he'd lose. Emily's mascara was smudging now, black streaks tracing down her cheeks. She looked at me like she was seeing someone else entirely. Maybe she was. I stood, the legs of my chair scraping against the tile, with a sound that made Emily flinch. "I didn't come here to save you," I said. "I came here so you'd understand something. The kid you threw away is gone. What's left is someone who won't be used anymore." I turned toward the door. Behind me, Emily's voice broke. "Daniel. Wait. I'm sorry." I paused. For half a second I almost looked back. Almost. But then I remembered the rain, the open car door, the $20. So I kept walking. Outside, the night air wrapped around me like cold water. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. I unlocked my car. My car, bought with my own hands, my own sweat, my own rules, and slid into the driver's seat. The leather was warm from the sun earlier, a small, quiet comfort. In the rearview mirror, their house stood still, every window dark. Somewhere inside, my mother was probably crying. Somewhere else, Emily might have meant what she said. But me? I wasn't happy. Revenge doesn't make you happy. It just stops the bleeding long enough for the wound to start healing. Tomorrow I'd go back to my own apartment, my job, the life I built without them. And maybe someday, if Emily's apology was real, I'd answer her. Not to forget. Not to forgive. But to make sure the chain ended with me. Oh, if you've ever been in a situation where the people who were supposed to protect you used you instead, know this. You have the right to walk away. You have the right to protect what's yours. But you also have the choice to heal. Not for them, but for you. If you were in my place, would you forgive? Would you walk away forever? Write your answer in the comments. And if this story spoke to you, hit that subscribe button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, And check out my other videos on surviving toxic family ties and finding your own freedom.